The Prime Minister recounted the remarkable rise of India and the Indian diaspora on the global stage. He also said that for the world, AI stands for artificial intelligence, but he believes it also represents the America-India spirit. So those were some of the key takeaways of Prime Minister Modi's historic visit to the United States. Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in New York.
And joining me from New York City are my colleagues Amritpal Singh and Shubhendu Ghosh. Shubhendu, how would you sum up the Prime Minister's three-day visit to the US? Take it away.
Ramesh, this is just past, just going to be noon in New York. We're coming to you from the iconic Brooklyn Bridge. Just as the bridge represents connectivity and people coming together in a similar fashion. Prime Minister's visit of the United States can be seen the manner in which connectivity was promoted in various domains: strategic connectivity, connectivity in the domain of technology, connectivity as far as India and the Indian diaspora are concerned. In the Quad Summit, we saw the manner in which strategic partnership was taken forward from the traditional security partnership in the domain of health, in the domain of Quad at Sea initiative and much more. The four nations are going to be working together for the peace, prosperity and the openness of the Indo-Pacific region. We look at Prime Minister's engagement with the top industry leaders. We see the manner in which technology had been a driving force in this visit of the Prime Minister, and emerging technologies, critical technologies, cooperation in that, investment in India on those themes were the themes taken forward. And finally, as far as the Indian diaspora is concerned, in Prime Minister's message, if you recollect, a celebration of the achievements of India and the Indian diaspora, a new India that has emerged, India that is self-confident, that has come of age on the global stage, a nation that is not seeking opportunity, but is the land of opportunity. It's inviting the world to come join it in the development journey. Some of the broad areas, and of course, finally, it was the time for Prime Minister's address at the United Nations, the Summit of the Future. Amritpal, you were closely observing the developments at the United Nations. What did you see as the central message in Prime Minister's intervention?
The Prime Minister, Shubhendu, touched on a lot of things, but I think the central message of the Prime Minister was that global action must match global ambition. Now, the Summit of the Future, Ramesh, as the Secretary General said, was trying to infuse new multilateralism into the system, into the global governance architecture. And the Prime Minister said, well, you can talk about climate change, you can talk about ecology, you can talk about the future of humanity, you can talk about all these big things, but it has to match action. Your ambition has to be matched by action, and the time to act is now. Unless we urgently act, we give a doomed future to our future generations. So I think that was the central message. But apart from that, when Shubhendu spoke about sustainable development, he said, look, sustainable development is possible with a human-centric approach. You can take care of the climate, you can move away from fossil fuels, yet lift 250 million people out of poverty as India has done. He said, you can make the world more inclusive by bringing in the have-nots. He gave the example of how the African Union was brought into the G20 under India's leadership. So he said that to stay relevant, you have to reform. Reform is relevant. So therefore, pitching for reform of multilateral institutions, and then again warning the world there is the real threat of terrorism moving into the cyber space, into maritime domain. So you need to watch out for that. And he's also offered that India is ready to share its experiences, its resources, like the DPI, with not just the global south, but the entire world. So I think that was the message.
Right. Amrit, also, if we reflect on the manner in which he spoke about the ongoing conflicts raging out across the world, and he said the solutions cannot be found on the battleground. That message must resonate, given that the attention of the world is on the manner in which conflicts like what is going on in Ukraine, in Gaza, or even Sudan, progresses in the years ahead, days ahead.
Absolutely. The message was very clear. India's long-standing stand that the way forward is on the table, not on the battleground.
Right. So those were some of the key takeaways, Ramesh, as far as Prime Minister's address is concerned. Of course, there are many nuanced points that we must be engaging with in the days ahead to understand the full impact of Prime Minister's visit. But those are some of the highlights.
Right. Shubhendu Ghosh and Amritpal Singh in New York. Thank you for that update. Appreciate it. And still to come on DD India News Hour. An expert take on political developments in Sri Lanka and the implications for India and the world.